this afternoon. We're going to get started by gathering a little glass out of our furnace over here. We have 500 pounds of molten glass in this unit, and we run it at 2100 degrees, 24 hours a day. We never shut that unit off. The glass in the tank is clear. The color you see is just a radiant heat coming off of it. George has got a small wood block. He's actually going to shape and cool that gather. Get everything running nice and even on the end of the iron. After he's shaped and cooled it, he's going to put some air in the other end, cap it with his thumb. That's going to pressurize that blow iron. If you watch right out here, you'll see an air bubble come right out into that piece of glass.
Wow.
There we go. This will be the starter bubble for our piece. To make the bowl we're going to make, we need to actually go back to the furnace and gather up some more glass. So George took some compressed air and he's cooled the bubble down just a little bit. Want to cool it down so when we go back into the furnace and gather over it, it doesn't collapse in on itself. Got a little more surface area there, so we'll probably make, after we gather up 2 or 3 more times the glass that we had on the first gather. There we go. And once again, George will go back to the bench, and he'll take a larger wood block this time. He'll shape and cool this gather, and as he shapes and cools this gather, he's reheating the bubble in the middle. Blocks we're using are fruit wood. These are apple and cherry wood blocks. We use fruit wood because it's a very dense wood, has a very tight grain pattern in it, so it burns out very evenly. The blocks will last about a year or so before we have to replace them. And we leave them in water 24 hours a day. We virtually waterlogged. That's a steam pad. That's a piece of felt with crushed graphite in it. About 4 layers in a local newspaper. About as close as you'll get to shaping glass with the palm of your hand. George is beginning to expand the bubble. Hot glass is very easy to blow up. Actually a lot easier to blow up a balloon. Doesn't make much air pressure at all. The irons we're working with are stainless. The nice thing about stainless steel, it's a poor conductor of heat, so it takes quite a long time for the whole iron to heat up. You watch where his left hand is, about 4 or 5 inches up from his hands, very tarnished to the nose. Very hot in that area. One of the first things you learn as an apprentice is you never reach above somebody's left hand to take an iron from them. Usually if you do it once, it's very rare. If you do it again, you end up getting a nasty little burn. And we've had a couple people learn that the hard way. Cutting a nice tight restriction right there off the end of the iron. That'll actually be the top of the bowl a little later on. The tighter the restriction, the cleaner the break will be when we go to take it away from the blow iron. George has been working glass for about 15 years now. He's actually worked in a number of studios in and around the area, and he's been here with the Museum of Glass now for a little over 5 years. So he'll taper up the bottom a little bit, and he's going to go back into our reheating unit over here. He's going to open up a couple doors over there. That unit runs at over 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, about 300 degrees hotter than our furnace. You can actually see inside the unit. We have a camera, it's on the back side, shining through a fused silicone window. It's the same glass they use in the space shuttle's windshields. It was actually developed right here in the Corning area back in the 1930s. Flatten up the bottom of the piece so it'll sit nice and straight on the table. And the next thing we're going to do is transfer this piece of glass from that blow iron to this iron right here. This iron's called a punny iron. I'm just going to gather up a little glass on the end of it. We're going to use this glass like a glue to make that transfer. We'll come over here to our marver, a 3/4 inch steel plate. Acts like a heat sink. It actually takes temperature out of this glass very quickly. I want to cool this down a little bit before you make that connection. George is scoring the upper part of the piece with a saw that has crushed industrial diamonds in it. There's a lot of diamonds in glass working. grab that putty iron, we'll attach it to the bottom of the piece. Put a little water on the score mark, that'll create a little thermal shock. Tap the iron, the piece should break right away. And there we go.
Wow.
So we made our transfer. Now we can work on the upper part of our bowl.
Wow.
George will melt that front edge back in, even everything up. And while he's working on that, I'm going to gather up some more glass on another solid nose iron. We're actually going to put a nice wrap right around the front part of our piece. And once again, I'll come back over here to our marber and shape and cool this piece of glass a little bit. And I'm going to shear it to a point. Never wondered what it was like to cut hot glass. It's actually very spongy. It's kind of like, I tell a lot of people, if you're ever eating an orange, take the skin of the orange and a pair of kitchen shears and cut through it. It's about the same effect. So I'm just going to warm this back up a little bit. Burn that shear mark in. Bring it over here to George. He'll grab that putty iron. We'll attach that piece of glass right there. We're actually going to stringer it all the way to the upper part of our piece. They're like spool it on cotton candy here. Then we just use the heat of the glass to break it away. It's called casting off. So glass is a poor conductor of heat. The thinner it is, the quicker it cools. This piece of glass over in here is probably upwards of about 2,000 degrees. I can actually grab it right back here and swing it and twist it right around. And if I want to, I can actually break it right off of there. The thinner it is, the quicker it cools. That's why George's work time actually becomes less and less as he goes to make this piece bigger and bigger. He's actually going to start using a set of wood jacks. He'll wilt to the wood because the wood is a little more forgiving. They don't take the heat out of the glass as quickly as the steel tools do, and they're less likely to put any scratch marks or tool marks around the front edge of our piece. So he's opening it up a little bit more. And we can stop right there. That'd actually be a beautiful vase. Put a lot of flowers in a vase that size. I'll show you probably 2 or 3 different items here as we're going along. Once again, he'll heat up that front edge. He'll come back and he'll open that up a little bit bigger. And we can stop right there. That'd actually be a nice big bowl. Put a lot of popcorn in a bowl that size. But we're going to take it one step further. We're actually going to make a big fluted bowl. George is going to heat up that front edge. It's going to start to wobble around just like it's doing right now. He's going to pick up the speed, spin it out a little bit. Let it fall back in on itself.
Wow.
And as it starts to buckle up, we get that beautiful fluted effect around the front part of it. Next thing we'll do is put a little water right back there where we made that connection. That's going to weaken that joint just a little bit. So when he taps the iron, he should break right away. There's our bowl.
Wow.
Looks pretty harmless right at the moment, doesn't it? This piece of glass is still probably over 1,000 degrees.